Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to this video, guys. My name is Zakat. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. My voice is a bit croaky today, guys. I'm just recovering from a bit of a cold. Right, so ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to all of you guys out there. Hope you guys have had a fantastic week, enjoying yourselves. So usually on Saturdays, let me just go on Instagram. So usually on Saturdays I do live stream, and I do on Fridays as well. About 3:30ish, 3:45 Fridays UK time. Just checking my tea. My tea is fine. This is my tea, guys. Ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan. So you're going to be hearing me clear my throat out throughout today's session, inshallah. Right, so let's check out what you guys have to say. Khan wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome, Khan. Ahlan wa sahlan. Hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Irfan wa alaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah. Irfan, jazakumullah khair. May Allah bless you and your family. Yes, I've just been resting all day today. Alhamdulillah, I feel much better than yesterday. Yesterday I was knocked out. After the live stream, went to sleep, knocked. Then I slept pretty much the evening, and then night time was on. Then morning felt much better, alhamdulillah. I think there's a bug going around. But since COVID, I mean, these kind of illnesses, I think have started to increase. I don't know if you guys have been noticing it. There's a lot of these like coughing and fevers, these kind of illnesses. I don't know, maybe it's just in my head, but that's what I've been noticing. Right, so let's go and try to answer some of your questions then. I have not answered questions on Curious Cat for a while now. So I think there's a backlog of questions that need to be answered. Inshallah, I'm going to hopefully answer them today. Wa alaikum assalam. Patrick, ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan. You're welcome. Ameen, ameen, jazakallah khair. Make dua, Patrick, that Allah gives me tawfiq to complete the whole book. Zaid, wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan. Sangal de khayma, mashallah, za khayma to sange. How was the event you went to last Saturday? Did it go well? Abdul Wadud, wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan. If one joins the Jama'ah late, do they recite in the rakats they missed? Yes. Yes, so the rakats they missed, they recite in there. I've actually made a video on my YouTube. Check out my YouTube. I made a video on missed rakats. Right, so let's answer some of the questions then. Okay, so let's start off. Where do we start? Loads of questions. Okay, let's see. Okay, if I have applied cream on limbs and wash over it for wudu, do I have to make sure the cream is fully washed off? No, you don't have to. No, you don't have to. So you don't have to make sure the cream is fine. You can use water even if the cream is repelling the water. It doesn't really matter. That's fine. Very good event here, mashallah. Sheikh give ijaz to all those who attended. Ahlan wa sahlan, mashallah. We wanted to actually try and make it to Manchester, but it would have been too late for us. So maybe next time, inshallah. Mashallah, we went to Bradford. We're at Smokehouse Steak Place. Sheikh, ahlan wa sahlan, wa alaikum assalam. Yasin, ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome, my brother Yasin. Hope you're well. Is Mullah Jami on the Kafiya studied in Pakistan? Yes, it's studied. They study like, I think it's about a third of it. So it's a third of the commentary. Ahlan wa sahlan, Khan. Should I donate to building a mosque? I feel they are just about getting bigger and pretty locally in Birmingham with just a few attending Faraz Namaz, or give to the poor. Whichever one you want to give to, there's great reward in both. Right? So there's not as though one is prioritized over the other. There's great reward in both, inshallah. So whichever one you want to give to is totally fine. If an imam makes a mistake in second rakat of Surah Fajr and says a tha instead, does he need to repeat? It depends what word. What word was it? What are your top tips for retention and regarding exams and studies in Alimiya? Just graduated year 3 and haven't yet crossed 90% exam mark. Okay, so this is from my own experience. This is number one. When you're studying in Alimiya, always remember you are not going to be able to retain all the information. It all depends, obviously, on how the course is laid out, and the style of the examiner. That's all obviously going to vary. But generally, don't think you're going to learn all of it. Most of what you learn of knowledge of all the sciences, you really understand them after you graduate and you go over your books again. That's when you really absorb the information. The second thing is, what I would say is, whatever you studied in the first year, then make sure as you're going along, the core books, you read it yourself, go over them yourself. And if you feel there's certain sections in there that you have gaps in, and try to see if you can cover those gaps in the coming years. So sometimes you might study something in year 1, which is going to be studied in year 2 as well, but at a little advanced level. So what you do is you focus on those sections which you're weak in that book. That's the second. Third, I would say is, if you really kind of want, then on the side, just on that particular topic, read other books. So let's say you're studying Hidayat al-Nahu. On the side, read something like An-Nahu al-Wadih, the advanced one, the Thanawiya one. Read that, or maybe even read An-Nahu al-Arabi or something of that sort of caliber. These are the kind of things that I personally found beneficial. I would say a lot of what I really have understood now is probably gained after graduating. A lot of it. In other words, does Pakistani Madaris follow the Akrad path? Not necessarily. I mean, generally in Pakistani Madaris, what they usually teach is they teach a book called, well, it's what we studied, An-Nahu al-Wadih, style of year 1, which is Nahu al-Wadih, and the Urdu class studied Nahu Mir, which is a Persian book. And then in year 2 you study Hidayat al-Nahu, and then year 3 you study Shar ibn Aqil, and then year 4 you study Shar Jami. That's what the madrasa that I was at. I'll be more free in August, inshallah. We can meet up, inshallah. Purple plans, wa alaikum salam. Can someone pray with shoes on? As long as the shoes are clean underneath, yeah. As long as they're clean underneath, then they can pray with them, inshallah. Is it farz for male to attend congregational prayer, or can one pray at home? If there is no valid excuse, there is a fear of sin for the male who doesn't pray in the masjid. ولا وليال عشر أو وليال عصر. Yeah, inshallah, that should be okay. It's not a major issue that will change the meaning drastically. How strict do we have to be in following the law of the land? I want to open a food truck, but there seems to be a lot of technicalities like food regulations, things like that. So that's not really kind of directly connected to Islam. That would be according to how you agree with their agreement. So if you sign an agreement with them, you have to abide by that agreement, so long as the agreement does not go against Islam categorically. So that would be if you promise them something, if they're saying to you, do you agree to these terms, and you say yes, then you have to fulfill them. Zob alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan. Is it fine to read the same surah in first and second rakat of Fard Salah? So the Hanafis would say that it'd be fine. Yeah, there wouldn't be a karaha for a person to do so. Do a sofa offer national curriculum GCSE? No, it's not for kids. A sofa is only for 16 years old and above. Okay, let's check these questions here. Wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan. Any Arabic podcasts anytime soon? Not at the moment, inshallah. When we do plan to restart, inshallah, I'll be updating you guys on the social media, inshallah. Women make tablets out of their placenta after childbirth and eat it. Apparently, is good for postpartum recovery. No, it wouldn't be allowed. Yeah, so you're not allowed to eat any part of your body in Islam. Is it permissible to pirate games which are not sold anymore by companies? Yeah, I wouldn't see a problem. Also, if someone has a skin condition like eczema and water irritates the skin, is it okay for them to do wudu in a way that does not fully wet the entire year? So they just work around it basically. How come in Hanafi madhab we can't drink milk of Qurbani animal considering the ayah? لكم فيها منافع إلى أجل مسمى ثم محله. I'm not sure, I can't remember reading anything on this. If you remind me, inshallah, I'll try to. If you email me, inshallah, I'll try to have a look. I don't know the answer to that. Sheikh Muhammad Al Yaqubi Birmingham today and Smedi on Monday. Yeah, I heard. I heard he's in Gumkol. Are there any Hanafi scholars that permit skin fades? Yeah. I found £1 on the floor outside. Could I keep it or should I give it to charity? Yeah, give it to charity. Is it permissible for a woman to travel alone for 3 days? I have heard that you can do that because we can travel quicker. So generally the rule is to do with safety. So if a woman, if it's a safe trip, safe journey, then it's possible, yeah. But if it's not safe, if there's a high risk of her getting attacked or abused or things like that, then no. Season 2 of 3, Kajur. I know we need that to come back. I need new presenters, that's the thing. Need new presenters. The old presenters have retired. Wa alaikum assalam. Ahlan wa sahlan, brother Muhammad. As you can tell, my voice today is a bit messed up. Shalu, ahlan wa sahlan, wa alaikum assalam. Which Hanafi scholars permit it? So basically, it's not impermissible in the Hanafi madhab. Skin fades are not permissible anywhere in the Hanafi madhab. So that's the thing. Is it permissible for a man to casually listen to female Quran recitation from online? It's best to avoid. Yeah, so men should avoid because they generally recite the Quran in a melodious tone. So if they're reciting in a melodious tone, it should be avoided. You tried the honey, yeah, Jazakallah khair, thank you very much. That helped. MashaAllah, I've been trying all sorts of things, trust me. Loads of things I've been trying. Give any advice you like. Just stay away from drinking cold water when you got a sore throat. Will your cyclist mate host? Oh, I'm a Maji. Nah, I don't think he's probably busy then. Can we consume non-alcoholic beers where the company basically makes the beer then removes the alcohol, so the product has less than? So the thing is, if they had alcohol in there in the beginning and the alcohol was removed, that's problematic then. That would be problematic because then that would possibly entail najasa. So if there was alcohol in there, and then it all depends how they remove it. I don't know the exact process of what the method of removal is. And if there was no, so there's various ways that they can actually make non-alcoholic beers. Yeah, and these kind of things Muslims should generally stay away from, because it's that kind of like trend that can catch on, and then There's a lot of Muslims who are afraid of openly drinking beer because they're scared of the stigma attached to it. Now, if a person openly starts to drink non-alcoholic beer, it kind of like makes it easier for those people who want to drink normal beer, to start drinking it. So I would say best to avoid these kind of things. So Hanafi madhab in skin fades would you say ikhtilaf? I mean, I don't know, from a dalil point of view, I don't know ikhtilaf in this. That's the honest thing. I know some people say you shouldn't have it because of qaza, but that's not. The qaza in the Hanafi madhab is where you shave the whole head and you leave the area of 3 fingers. So if I was to shave my whole head and then left hair the size of 3 fingers on my head, that's what qaza is. What cold water? Is it permissible to listen to something that does not have bad lyrics or music, but is not Islamic? So it has no bad lyrics, it has no music in there, and it's not Islamic, like the news. Yeah, so technically that would be fine. The Sufa allows students with skin fades. Yeah. How is Balagha taught at a Sufa? So have you watched my have you seen my 2 courses on Balagha on my uruk.com? That's how I teach it. Were you able to attend the Jalsa today? No, I wasn't. Unfortunately, I've been ill. I was supposed to go to London today. I was supposed to be in a ulama symposium today in London, but I've just been ill. If you filter filth out of urine and bring it to pH 8 neutral and it becomes water, does it take the hukum of used water and rose water in that it's pure but not purifying? Good question, that is. I mean, this would all go down to what does it mean to change from one substance to another? So if the urine can change from one substance to another substance and chemically it's been recognized as being a different substance, then possibly, yeah. It's all about istihala, basically. It's all about the concept of istihala. So istihala means changing from one to another. Yeah, so if it basically can change, if it's considered to have changed from one compound to a different compound, then yeah. Do you think a lot of students get put off by an interesting subject only by syllabus and why it's taught? Do you think a lot of students get put off by an interesting subject only by syllabus? Yeah, definitely, 100%. 100%. It's unfortunate, that is. Sometimes, depending on how the teacher teaches it, depending on what book's being used, it can have an impact, especially if students not prepared for it. Is it possible for a scholar to be fine equipped of all 4 madhabs? I don't know anyone who has mastered all 4 madhabs. Like, honestly, I don't know anyone in history who has mastered all 4 madhabs. Like, to the level of, what is considered to be mastered. There's many scholars who will know fully their own madhab and will have a general understanding of the other madhabs. But I know no one who has a fully in-depth. Mu'eez, Salaam alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan. My local masjid recently sent a WhatsApp message to worshippers from Mufti saying women are prohibited from the masjid jamaats. Don't know how to respond. Yeah, unfortunately you get that. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, I've been in situations where I've seen this kind of thing as well. And then later on, they slowly, tone down and then they allow women to enter. It all depends upon, I think, who the committee are, who's running it. And what I would say is maybe you kind of get some people to speak to them, show them the importance of how there's many women out there who need like a safe space, or they need a place like a masjid to attend, to listen to talks, because they don't get that same environment at home. I didn't get your advice. Okay. Well, you said to me, give any advice, and I gave some advice, which was, if you got a sore throat, don't drink cold water. That's my advice. Is fading of a bit of the beard allowed? That should be avoided. Wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan, Abdul Majid, mashallah. Welcome. How do you feel about Mormons? I do not know any Mormons. Allah yashfik, jazakallah khair, ameen. Are you drinking apple juice? No, this is Turkish tea. What about with music? Then if it's music which is the purpose of it, which is the music, then no, absolutely not. If it's just in the background, light music, something like that, then possibly. But again, if there's no need for it, then a person shouldn't. Last week in our masjid, the Imam made Qunut Nazila for Palestine in Fard of Isha. He made dua in his own Arabic words too. Is it valid in Hanafi madhab? So in Hanafi madhab, we wouldn't do that, but other madhabs allow it, so it's fine. As long as you prayed behind him, and according to his madhab, it's allowed, then it's okay. Is dyeing the beard okay? Yes. Should I study chemistry? Okay, apart from student fees, how do madrasas keep themselves running to pay for staff and facilities? There's various ways, I guess. Sometimes students they do collections throughout the year. Go from masjid to masjid, especially in Ramadan. They do collections, appeals and then you have on the side some donors. Maybe there's some donors who will privately donate towards the madrasa. Sometimes the madrasa might have some sort of a business running on the side that brings income in, selling things. So there's various ways. I mean, unfortunately, the madrasas don't have a good income. They don't have a solid income. You'd be surprised at some of the problems that these madrasas have. But one of the biggest things is a lack of income. They say women can't come. It's free mixing. Oh, free mixing. Yeah, tell them to provide another door. And if they got another door, they can give access to another door and another room. With the filtering plants we have today, they purify the urine and place water into a larger volume of pure water that becomes tap water. In water like rose water that has lost its smell, volume is taken into account. So even if it's remained najis, tap water would be pure, right? Yeah. So I think rose water, there's different ways it's made, isn't it? There's one way that they actually cook it. They get rose petals and they put it into hot water and they basically boil it. And there's one way you simply just put rose petals in normal lukewarm water. Best translation of the Quran? It depends, I think. So the gracious Quran is very nice. Noble Quran is very good as well. Have you been to Dubai? No. Well, I stopped in the airport in Dubai, but I haven't been outside. What are your thoughts on Andrew Trey? I have no idea. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, how were men and women in the masjid, and why are some masjids more stricter than others in LA? So, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, men and women used to go to the same mosque. They used to stand in the same hall. Women were at the back, men were at the front. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to finish his salat, he would say to the men, wait until the women leave. So the women would leave. Then after them, the men would leave. Then what happened over the years, as the Prophet passed away, and then the Sahaba, and then all this, there was a lot of women that used to get harassed on the streets when they would come to the masjid, unfortunately. So this was later times. So that's why scholars put in measures, tell the women, don't come to the masjid, because you're just going to get harassed. You might get harassed, and that's not a good thing. So women, it wasn't ever necessary for women to come to the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ always encouraged them to pray at home, but he still allowed them to go to the mosque. That's why the later scholars put restrictions there. The restrictions were not there because women can't go to the mosque, but because of the problems that they'd incur whilst going back and forth from the masjid. I know of a Shia masjid that brought a wedding venue and they hire it out and use the income in their masjid. Yeah, I mean, there's so many good ideas out there, but unfortunately, the masjids, they don't utilize them. I think the masjids need to have some sort of think tanks, financial think tanks, who can sort out all the finances of the mosque and provide good models for funding the masjid. Yeah, there's some masjids I've heard of have got 50, 100,000 500,000 in the bank. Yeah, and it's crazy. And in many cases, imams are paid very, very low. So in a lot of madrasas as well, imams, the teachers are paid very low. And then what they'll do is, if they have children, they'll pay them minimum wage. And then the government, obviously, if you've got minimum wage, then the government will top you up, with universal credit. So a lot of these places just take advantage of that. But there needs to be some solid. If someone says that they don't believe in dukhul jinn, will this come under valid ikhtilaf? And if not, how severe is this? Yeah, I mean, this is valid ikhtilaf. Because it's not a qat'i issue. If a woman is approaching the end of menses, how frequently should they be checking throughout the day if menses is completely finished? No, I would say generally a woman should just check for the five times salat. Just around the 5 times salat, that's it. Have you seen Sound of Freedom? So is putting roses in water different from saffron in water? Yeah, so that's the issue where, like in Quduri, when they mention the masla of ma'al ward. So ma'al ward, how is it exactly ma'al ward made? Because if ma'al ward is made by boiling it, putting it into, then that comes under like broth, basically. But if ma'al ward is like saffron water, then it's fine. This is where sometimes in the fiqh books they might mention something which was a widespread practice at their time, but then in other times or in other parts of the world, that wasn't necessarily the way that they used to process it. I haven't seen some. Need some halal hustlers. Halal hustlers, no. Okay. Wa alaikum assalam, Ibn Adam, ahlan wa sahlan. What? Imams should go on strike like teachers do then. The problem with that is 5 times salat. They gotta pray the 5 times salat. Imam Razi and Jassas had the opinion that dukhul jinn is not true. They consider it mental health. Salam, ahlan wa sahlan, Zoom party, Umar, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. It's an interesting point about rosewater. Shows why you need a teacher for even. Yeah, sometimes it's weird. Sometimes you'll study something you won't even realize, and then later on you realize that, you know what, there was a whole difference of how this book was looking at this masala, another book. Okay, what is the ruling regarding holding a baby while praying? Okay, let me answer that one. If you have a health condition which stops you from fasting, do you get reward of having intended? Yes, of course. Do I have to pay zakat on pension funds I hold with previous employers? They are defined contribution schemes, but I no longer have control over them and I am not adding to the current balance. If you can send me an email, learning in gmail.com. Okay, what is the ruling regarding that one? Actually, one second, let me just open the window a bit. Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible or haram makruh to have skin fade where the sides of the hair are shaved? Salam. It's allowed. Okay, would it be haram to invest in artificial intelligence technologies? No. Does Riyah invalidate the prayer such that we have to repeat it? No. Can we euthanize a pet if a vet diagnoses that they do not have long to live? Yes. Straightforward questions, guys. Do you have a tutorial on how to work out prayer times on a plane? Sorry, I don't. Okay. Are Bitmojis permissible? Yes. Assalamu alaikum. I purchased some items, but I have used them only really briefly. Is it allowed to return the item to the store and receive my money back? All the items are in good condition. Salam, yes. Okay. What is the view on women cutting their hair? So there's a difference of opinion amongst later Hanafis. Some Hanafis say they can't cut it, they can just trim it, and others say that it's permissible to cut up to just below the ears. Yeah, about like over here, just about below the ears. What are your thoughts on no idea what that is. Tell us something interesting you've learned recently. Something. Oh, by the way, guys, I've got a course, not a course. I've got a talk next week about Hadith. So it's going to be about sort of like discussions, topics on regarding Hadith and how we approach Hadith, and it's going to be like a more informal question and answer session next Saturday. So next Saturday, I probably won't be able to have a live stream. I'll see if I can get back in time. But yeah, next Saturday, inshallah, is going to be on that discussion. You just reminded me of that. So something I've been reading a few books just to kind of brush up on my understanding of certain issues. So one is Raf'ul Malam. So Raf'ul Malam is written by Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. It's a very good book. I would definitely recommend it. You know, maybe someone's translating to English. I don't know. But if you can read that book, it will definitely give you an insight into how the science of Hadith works and how the four madhabs sometimes seemingly didn't take a particular Hadith, but there's a valid reason behind it. So that's what I would say. Read that. It's interesting. I heard Sheikh Abdul Majid say in a talk, the Imam made a dua that all committee get the same salary as him. MashaAllah. Did they say Ameen? That'll be a good one. Wa alaikum assalam. Ahlan wa sahlan. Okay. In initial years study, how did you manage faith levels, demotivation, and things like that? If I buy something and the repack and I sell on higher price. So in the early years, how did I deal with faith and all that? So I think because I was living away from home, living in the madrasa, it was very easy for me, alhamdulillah. I was with the main thing about faith is always your community. Remember that. Having faith in isolation is a very dangerous thing. Having faith in a community is very good. So if you have a community that supports your faith, yeah, you have a family, you have siblings, you have relatives or neighbors, a strong community around your area, masjid. These are things that strengthen faith. Community and faith, they work hand in hand. And isolate, if you feel that you can be isolated from everyone else and have strong faith, that's very, very rare. Right? And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, hold fast the jama'ah, hold fast the group, because the isolated individual will be eaten up by the shaitan. Shaitan, he preys on individuals who cut themselves off from everyone else. They isolate themselves. People who stay in their room all day. People who, stay away from community, don't communicate with other like-minded Muslims. Alaikum assalam, Kazmataz, ahla wa sahlan, my brother. Have you stopped doing live Q&A? No, I'm doing it now, my brother. What can I do as a Christian in the United States to create unity with my Muslim brothers and sisters? The woke left will destroy us both if we don't. It's a tough one, because I think I don't live in the US. I don't know exactly the challenges you guys have. But I would generally say all communities, that hold fast to the like monotheism to a degree, or they affiliate themselves to Ibrahim alayhi salam. They all need to understand that the challenges that each group is going to face is going to be the challenges that they'll need to fight together, right? Because generally, for example, an example like this, like for example, LGBT, is a challenge that all these three groups are going to face, and if one cuts themselves from the other, then it's going to cause a problem. So the Muslims standing up for the Christian, like for example, Sweden has now allowed the burning of the Torah, right? And there's going to be a public burning of the Torah in front of the Israeli embassy. Again, this is something Muslims should stand up and defend. This is wrong. Yeah, people should not be burning the Torah, even though it's not a book that we necessarily follow. And likewise, if someone's going to make fun of Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, Muslims should stand up as well. And likewise, Christians should stand up for the values that Muslims have. Although we disagree on many things within our faiths, living together as a community is very important to do that. Have not seen for a while. Yeah, I have a neighbor that worships Mary. What should I do? You don't have to do anything. I think some humans have artificial intelligence these days. What does the scripture say about AI? It doesn't. Well, our Muslim scriptures don't say anything about AI. What are the rules for distribution of Qurbani? Are you meant to give it only to people eligible for zakat? No, you give it to anyone. Are you ill, Mufisab? So Allah, Ameen. Yeah, I've been ill for the past few days. Alhamdulillah, today I've been recovering. Yeah, Behroz. Yeah, that's the main thing about isolation. Sometimes we don't realize it's the West, it isolates people. Western ideology of capitalism, of these kind of values are very isolating values. It's all about yourself. They want to cut you off from family. They want to cut you off from community. They want to cut you off from moral obligations you have to one another. And they just want to make you isolated individuals so they can eat you up like the wolf eats up the stray sheep. Jazakallah khair, Yusuf, mashallah. My brother Yusuf, Ameen for your beautiful du'as. May Allah bless you. Jazakallah khair for the kind donation. May Allah bless you. Yusuf is one of my earliest friends, I told you guys. Mashallah. Do you have a newsletter? No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't have a newsletter. What are your thoughts on the mega dawahs? Mega dawahs as in like people who online give dawahs. Is that what you're talking about? Black rock sounds quite dark. Black rock sounds like that black water. Do you recommend Duolingo for learning Arabic? I haven't used Duolingo. I've heard people say good things about it, but the main thing I would say, if you're want to learn any language, what you basically have to do is you have to listen a lot, you have to speak a lot, and you have to comprehend a lot. There are three things that you need to focus on: speaking, and listening, and comprehension. Hit the like button, guys. Yes, hit the like button. Actions are according to intentions. What if someone goes through life forgetting to keep renewing intentions? No, so when we say actions are by intentions, like intention, most of us, nearly all of us, we make good intentions throughout the day. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, and that's sufficient, guys. So for example, like let's say, you're driving a car and you give someone way. That's a good intention, guys. Yeah, so you giving way is a good intention. And if, for example, like you were driving and all of a sudden you put your brake on for no reason, and then someone thought you're giving them way and you gave way, obviously you had no intention there. So when we say good intention, your intention does not have to be like at every step of the way you pause, you think about Allah, and then you do that. No. So good intentions are just general. Yeah, like for example, the guy who, in the Hadith, who was walking down the road and he moves a branch out the way because he doesn't want others to get hurt. Then there's no way in that Hadith that he thought of Allah, or he thought of his religion, nothing like that. He just didn't want other people to get hurt. That was enough of a good intention. Is AI a false god? No, not necessarily. AI is just a technology. That's all it is. It's just a tool, like the tools you have in your shed. That's all it is. It depends how you perceive the tool. What should be done about the blue hair college students that think God doesn't exist? I have no idea what that is. Come together through a common word. So how much of the Qurbani should be given away? So it's recommended, mustahab, to give 1/3 to the poor, 1/3 to friends and family, 1/3 for yourself. Wa alaikum assalam, Muhammad Ibrahim Sahib, sanga hal de, khairiyat de, tabiyatun de khadi. Khayam alhamdulillah, shukr alhamdulillah. What is the best way to go to Mecca? From the UK, I would probably say Saudi Airlines. I don't know from where you are. Also, are there any good Arabic speakers you recommend to listen to on YouTube? Ideally, people who stick strictly to Fusha. Yeah. So let me show you some. Okay, so Sheikh Adham, he's one I would definitely recommend. His lessons are very clear, very easy to follow. Can't find it. Okay, here it is. Yeah, this is a good one if you want to watch Fusha. Should be a talk on the adab of driving, especially for Bradford boys. I know the other day in Bradford, but crazy driving. Do you teach the first years in A's of the scholars? Yes, I do. GH, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Missed you, my brother. GH. شكرا جزيلا أتمنى لك ليلة سعيدة يرحمك الله شوى وإياك. لك Sheikh Mufti, recommend me a best e-bike pedal one with a reasonable price. I don't know, bro. I ride a road bike. I don't ride e-bikes. I'm not one of those e-bikers. I don't do alphabet letters. What do you need it for, Ibrahim? Had a question come up in the workplace. What to do to pay zakat for if you don't have money on hand right now to pay it before Muharram starts, but you know you will in 2 weeks from now. So when is your zakat anniversary? Do you know when your zakat anniversary is? I'm guessing Sheikh Zaid doesn't teach first years. No, he doesn't. What madhab does that Sheikh follow? Hanafi, I think. I think he's a Hanafi. Yeah, because a lot of the books that he teaches are Hanafi books. Yeah, teaches Usul al-Shashi, teaches Nul Idah. Yeah, Quduri. Yeah, definitely. Most likely Hanafi. Yeah, guys, so it's my second year Dars Nizami. Should I teach Arabic online part-time to raise donations and my revision? Or so I don't know what level your Arabic is at. Remember this, guys. If a person is not good at something, they should not charge people for it. That's the thing, because what happens is then you're conning the people on you. What I would say is, if you want to teach free of charge in the beginning until you become proficient at it, and then when you're charging people the money is something that's worth it. as in qualified. I mean, I'm sure you can find other jobs out there, inshallah. Are Hanafis allowed to join Salah when they are musafir? No, Hanafis can't. What date is so GH? What date is the anniversary? Do you have a date? Because it basically works on a date. On that particular date, if you have the money, you got to give zakat. So you don't have to give the zakat on that date, but that date means you are eligible to give zakat. And if you don't have the funds on that day, if you're below the nisab, so let's say for example the nisab is £350 and you've only got £200, then you don't have to give zakat. Then you wait till the next year. Muhammad Mullah, ahla wa sahlan, Mullah wa alaikum assalam. Is your throat's better, mashallah, but as you can see, the sound of my voice is a bit croaky today. Yeah. Okay, let's check some of these out. Okay, so some of the Curious Cat ones. Wa alaikum assalam. Is the Ashura fast a specific fast? How do you intend for it? Can I combine intention of the Ashura fast with Qadha fast? Assalam. Assalam. Yes, it's a specific fast on 10th Muharram. Intention is simply to fast it. There is difference of opinion about fasting with Qadha. أنا أعرف من I can't read Arabic, unfortunately. If you can write in normal Arabic, I can't. I could not listen to my answer as I was listening to Isha Adhan. Ahlan wa sahlan, brother. May Allah grant you shifa, Ameen. You can't do the Nigerian accent today. I know, bro. Someone said to me I got a Thor accent. If someone had £10,000 on the 1st January 2030, whoa, that's a bit in the future. I know Hanafis come out with hypothetical scenarios, and then by 1st of January 2031 they had below the nisab, like £1. Do they pay zakat? No, so they don't pay zakat, so they gotta wait till the next year. The person meets mashallah, jazakallah khair, brother Irfan B. May Allah bless you. May Allah bless you, my brother. May Allah give you barakah in your wealth and your health and your time. Jazakallah khair for your kind donations towards my channel, guys. It means a lot to me. Mashallah, Sadaqah Jariyah as well for the work that I put up, alhamdulillah. The person meets nisab but doesn't have the cash in hand to pay the zakat on the anniversary because of time withdrawal. Yeah, so then therefore that's fine. They can pay later on. They can pay whenever they get the money. Recommend e-bike. So I don't know any e-bikes, unfortunately, but I don't deal with e-bikes. But the pedal one depends. What do you? That's why I asked you. I said, what do you need it for? What is it for? Rahman wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. Abdul Rahman. Ameen, Irfan, Ameen. Sheikh, how was Bradford? I didn't get a chance to meet you, unfortunately. MashaAllah, Bradford's very, very nice. It was raining, but alhamdulillah, I had a good time with the guys. It was really fun. MashaAllah, it was me, it was Maji, it was Brother Sufyan, and another brother, MashaAllah. It was really good. I even did a live stream from the restaurant that we were in. Okay, so Ayaz, ahlan wa sahlan. So I hope Mufti as well. Just had a quick question. Is it okay to perform Salah behind an Imam who has his pants below ankles but follows the Shafi'i madhab? Yes. So according to, Hanafis, having the pants below the ankles is considered makruh tanzihi. So it's not sinful. This is according in Fatawa Hindiya is mentioned in other places as well. But if the person does it out of arrogance, pride, showing off, then it's considered makruh tahrimi. Yeah, so it'd be permissible to pray behind him. So what does it mean for increase and decrease not being taken into account during the year? Like saying nisab is £4,000 and the person has 5,000 at the beginning of the year, 3,000 at the end. No, nisab basically means that it has to be above the nisab threshold. So the nisab threshold at the moment is about £350 in equivalent to silver nisab. So let's say, for example, a person has £1,000. So silver nisab is 250. Yeah. So you got £1,000, and then end of the year you've got £500. Because the 500 is above the nisab, you still got to give zakat. But if at the end of the year the nisab was 200, sorry, so beginning of the year it was 1,000, and then end of the year on that particular date it was £200 below the nisab, then you don't give zakat. So the reduction, or the deduction, is based upon the nisab. Is it above the nisab, below the nisab? So if at the end of the year your assets are below the nisab, then you don't give zakat. Traveling to work by road. Yeah, what you should get then is a hybrid. So go to a shop and then try out yourself. Ask them for a hybrid bike. Ideally, don't buy online. First of all, go to a shop, test out some hybrid bikes. Go to Halfords or go to one of these places, or Ladypool Road, mashallah, one of my friends, he's got a shop, Ladypool Cycles. Go there, you can try some out, which ones are good ones, based on your height as well, and for your purpose. Get one of those. Called hybrid. Okay, so hybrid is basically between a mountain bike and between a racer. If someone does a course aiming to gain a solid understanding of the basics of Islam but feels they did not fully achieve this, should they consider looking into other institutes or just continue? Yeah, I would say the person should look into other institutes. How can someone wear a garment below the ankles out of arrogance? Would this include if a person thinks that the trousers... so basically what it was into the time of Jahiliyyah, when people used to, like rich people, poor people used to have less clothing on. So a sign you were poor was that your ankles would show, and you had insufficient clothing. And a sign you were rich was you had clothing that was draping, in fact dragging even. So what they used to do was they used to deliberately wear long clothing to drag, just to show their richness, how rich they were, to show off. So that was basically the hadith was that. And the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever wears their clothing and drags their clothing on the ground out of arrogance, Allah won't look at them. So that's basically what the hadith is about. How authentic is the hadith of Prophet ﷺ regarding chest? Yes, authentic. What books would you recommend for building Arabic vocab? Just read as much as you can. Read storybooks. As many storybooks as you can. Read. That's the best thing. شخص مشكوك موجود فينا. مزيف account. نعم. ضيف مزيف. ما شاء الله. عندنا ميم ألف 5 أو ميم ألف 6. Perfect explains. Jazakallah khair, Ibrahim. Duagane ki yad sata. What matan would you recommend we should memorize in Hanafi fiqh? If you can memorize Quduri, that's the best matan to memorize. Quduri is the best matan. If you can't memorize Quduri, then you can memorize anything which is similar to it. There's a poem that I recommend to people, which is it's called Tuhfatul Tullab. It's a poem written by Abu Bakr Mullah. So check that out, inshallah. It's about 1,000 poems. Assalamu alaikum, ahla wa sahlan AI. Ustad, can you explain the following hadith? Yeah, post it up, inshallah. I see. So would that not really applicable to? I mean, it could be applicable. Certain types of people wear clothing and drag it in certain ways or under their ankles out of arrogance because how rich they are. If someone wants to learn Arabic to understand the Quran more and also understand the basics of Deen well, should they start with learning Arabic or? So if they don't know the basics of Deen, like they don't know how to pray Salah, they don't know how to give zakat, then they should learn basics of Deen first. If they know all of that, then they should start with Arabic. Asim al-Hanafi, ahlan wa sahlan. Alaikum assalam. I hope you are in the best of states. Jazakallah khair. I have a question regarding learning disabilities. My brother is an adult with learning disabilities. Alhamdulillah, he works in hospitality in a basic position. But how much can he understand and take responsibility for things is limited. He uses money irresponsibly and is always skint. He had a house which he wants to sell. If my dad was to sell his house on his behalf, is it permissible for my dad to put his money to use for the house we all live in? Is it obligatory to ask my brother first? He doesn't contribute expenses and any money he earns from work he blows. Possibly, yeah. I mean, I don't exactly know the condition that he has, but possibly your father can step in these kind of situations where Sahibain have mentioned regarding the person who is considered to be a ma'tuh, someone who's a ma'tuh or a safi, and their guardians putting restrictions on them. So if it was an Islamic country, your father would go to the courts and would get basically we call this a hajar, like restrictions put on them for how they can use their financial income. So I would say that would be possible, definitely, because especially if he's using up the money and it's being wasted clearly. In the Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ said, I disown every Muslim who settles amongst the mushrikeen. Yeah, so this hadith, this hadith is, first of all, you have to understand, this hadith was in a time where the Muslims were in a hostile war against the mushriks. So there was a Islamic hub, which was Medina, and then there was these like anti-Islamic states. And the Prophet ﷺ was discouraging people to stay there. He was telling people to migrate. Migration was obligatory on every Muslim at that time. So that's why this hadith has to be understood in the context of the mushriks of Arabian Peninsula. Once the Muslims of Arabian Peninsula had gone, the mushriks of Arabian Peninsula had gone, then this strict ruling had now become easier now. Does that make sense? So this is, again, there's a lot of hadith out there where people take out of context or they'll apply it to any time. But because we know that there were many people historically who actually did live in lands which were not necessarily Muslim lands, travel there for business or whatever. But generally the scholars do say that if a person goes to a non-Muslim land, they shouldn't go there permanently unless they're going to go for a purpose, a good purpose, like for example giving da'wah or doing trade or something of that nature. That's generally. And now as time has gone by, the whole dynamics of how the world runs, of what a state is, what a country is, what a citizen is, all these new things have come about. It's changed the whole dynamics now. Yeah. Can you marry someone without your own parents knowing secretly? I would say no. Yeah, no. You shouldn't do that. When are you going to be coming down to a sofa? Keenly waiting to see you, inshallah. You come down to a sofa, inshallah, I will be there. Usually I do Jummahs there last Jummah of every month. Come last Jummah of every month, inshallah, I'll be there. Muhammad Ibrahim, as a care worker at hospital, what would be basic rulings, opposite sex interaction, helping patients necessary? Yeah, so I've never worked in a hospital, and I think that's something you'd know better. What I would say is wherever there is a need to be able to touch patient, to move them around, pick them up, that's permissible. But besides that, then it's not permissible. Also, People keep saying to leave and make hijrah to a Muslim country. Do we have to? So not necessarily, unless your faith is at stake, like your 100% your faith. Like if you keep staying in that particular place, you will lose your faith. Then it's obligatory to move. Or at least to go to another area where your faith is protected. Is there a dalil from Hadith for congregational dhikr programs, and is it permissible? So there's a Hadith where the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned about, like for example, saying Ameen aloud in the masjid. Yeah, so Ameen is being said aloud in the masjid. Some people use that as evidence to say, look, that there's a Hadith which says that, you know, when the Sahaba used to pray in congregation, they all say Ameen together and the whole masjid would shake. So some people use that as evidence. Some people use evidence Hadith where the Prophet ﷺ came out of his house and he saw one group of people doing dhikr and one group of people teaching knowledge. And there's also Hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that there's no people in the that collect in the house of Allah and they do the recitation of the Quran, except that Allah's angels come. So the long Hadith. So because the Quran is a dhikr of Allah and they're all together, so that seems to show some sort of permissibility for it. Sheikh Abdul Hayy Laknawi has a risala on this. I can't remember what the risala is called. I forgot. I think it's called Al-Misbah or Subha, something like that. Next. At the time of the death, what are we meant to read? First kalima or second kalima? So basically just say La ilaha illallah. As long as you said La ilaha illallah, that's what the Hadith says. So I don't know about first or second kalima. It's La ilaha illallah. Also, can I pick up alcohol left over in glasses or cans in work as a waiter? Yes. As long as you wash your hands after. Inshallah, Ibrahim Sahib. Wa alaikum assalam. Riyadh al-Salihin by Muhammad Mahmoudi. Is this easy to understand for laymen? And which I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't be able to comment on it. Is it necessary for people praying in? Which is your favorite kajur type? I would say probably Majula dates, Majula and Ajwa. Is it Sukkari as well, maybe? So they all depend on my mood. Is it, mashallah, we've got 85 viewers, mashallah. If you guys are watching, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. If you're watching, if you're new, this is live stream that I do, and the live stream takes place every Saturday, where I answer your questions regarding Islam, Quran, and topics like that. Is it necessary for people praying congregation to be touching directly next to each other, or can there be small gaps? So basically the shoulders should touch each other, the arms should touch next to each other. There should be no gaps. Mine is Tunisian. Oh, Tunisian ones, yeah, the Tunisian ones are nice. Yeah, I've been ill for the past few days. That's on my throat. I've been literally knocked out all day. Feeling better a bit earlier. Me like the video. Jazakallah khair. I watch because you're a great scholar, better than Sakin Naik. Allahu Akbar. Kya baat bhai. Jazakallah khair. I'm thinking good of me. Does the hukum of makruh tahrim still apply for facing or having back to Qibla if the bath is built that way? So there's an ikhtilaf in this masala. There's about eight positions in this masala, which I know from the top of my head. There might be others as well. So what I would say is, if the toilet is built and it's difficult to be able to maneuver, then it'd be permissible, because there's permissibility in the other madhabs. It's not such a strict masala. Even in the Hanafi madhab, Abu Hanifa has a riwayah, which is not the Zahir riwayah, that it's considered to be makruh tanzihi. Yeah, so if it is built like that, if you are going to build it, then you should build it slightly away from. That's what Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiallahu anhu used to. He said, when we used to go to Sham, we used to go to the toilets, and the toilets were built in the direction of the Qibla. So we would turn slightly. Sheikh Albani used the hadith to issue a fatwa saying it is haram to live in the West. Also in the West, 25% tax every money is funded. Serious question. Wahhabis or Salafis, they are not mushriks or kuffar committers. Don't understand. What would you like to see more of in the Muslim community? Well, I would like to see more of Muslim. I would like to see more youngsters. When I say youngsters, as in late teens, 20s, involved more in Muslim projects in the community, in the masjids, in other youth activities in the community. I would like to see more of that, definitely. Wa alaikum assalam, Sonics. Ahlan wa sahlan. I'm very good, thank you. Ihsan, I keep forgetting. Ihsan. Ahlan wa sahlan, Ihsan. Where can an 18-year-old male begin with gaining some Islamic knowledge, motivation, along with busy secular studies? If you can find, basically a part-time Alamiya course, or maybe like a once-a-week course, that would be good. So I don't know exactly where you live, but different areas might have provide certain types of studies for adults. Okay, Sheikh Albani, if I read his books and accept what he says, am I kafir? I hope not. I haven't read all of Albani's books, but I don't think he said anything which is kufr. Imam Nawawi mentioned in his Sharh Muslim that there is a riwayah from Abu Hanifa that facing it is not permissible, but having back to it was okay. Now this is actually a report of Abu Yusuf. Yeah, Abu Yusuf had this opinion. If I read Salafi books and accept what is written, am I a kafir? So the thing is, I think the term Salafi is a very general term. Yeah, like for example, there might be ISIS who claim they call themselves Salafis as well. So it's a very general term, isn't it? So it's not really kind of like a fair statement to say, because Salafi is not a one system. There's different types of Salafis out there. There's Madkhali Salafis, Madkhalis who call other Salafis kafirs, and then there's ISIS Salafis, and there's all these kind of strange things out there. I would generally say, look, if you follow Salafi books, which people generally say that this is not considered to be something which is deviation or kufr, then it'll be fine. But I can't give a blanket ruling on these things. Are Deobandi people good? I mean, they are not kafir. Barely say they are not good. Yeah, I mean, I've come from a madrasa that's basically a Deobandi madrasa affiliation to Deoband. I've studied there. I don't see them as kafir. My akhiri question, advice for layman. Okay, so advice for layman, I would generally say, always work hard for unity of the Muslims. Because we're living in a time today where everyone wants to just, stab each other. Like, not physically, but they just want to stab each other. They just want to criticize each other, label each other. And we're living in a time where we need each other more than anything. So I would generally say, look, the biggest thing that Muslims need today is they need to come together, strengthen your bonds together. Come under La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Come under that thing which the Prophet ﷺ would be proud of. That's the thing that we Muslims need to strive for today. And generally, social media is very divisive. It kind of just paints a picture of other people in a bad way and makes you feel bad about them. That's my advice would be. Please forgive me if that's too big of a question for the live stream, but are istighatha and tawassul actually valid concepts in our deen? So this, yes, no one's asked me about istighatha question for a very long time, but I will answer it. So, so when it comes to tawassul basically means this. Imagine I make a dua to Allah, Ya Allah, fix my car, Ya Allah, allow me to be able to earn halal earning. That's asking Allah, isn't it? Okay, number two now. If I ask Allah, but then I say, oh Allah, through the love I have for the Prophet ﷺ, through the blessing of the Prophet ﷺ, through the barakah of the Prophet ﷺ, I ask you to fix my car. I ask you to give me halal earnings. This is called tawassul. So you're asking Allah, but what you're doing is you're asking Allah through another means. You're asking Allah to enhance your dua by bringing something in that dua which is going to give that dua more of a possibility of acceptance. So this is accepted as well. Majority of scholars accept this. There's a few who don't accept it. Number 3 is istighatha. Istighatha is basically where you ask the dead people, so you ask their souls, you ask their souls to make dua for you. So you basically go to the Prophet ﷺ's grave and you ask the Prophet ﷺ, he can hear us, you ask him, and make dua to Allah for me. So you don't ask Allah directly, you ask them to ask Allah for you. This is where there is controversy on this issue. There were many people who were totally against this, and many people who are for this. I personally would say stay away from this. That's what my view would be. Ustad, are you following Salafi teaching? I don't follow anyone's teachings. I follow Quran, I follow Sunnah, I follow the Hanafi school. That's what I follow. Jazakallah khair. That's if people want unity. Belwi says unity only exists if we all have the same aqaid. Yeah, true. That's the thing. Everyone claims that they're on the haqq, and no one wants to sit around a table and discuss it. I'm only asking, apparently they have opposite teachings regarding aqidah. I don't know. I mean, if you can possibly point out some of these aqidas, then maybe I can look into it. If you can point out some of the aqidas they mention. Anyway, guys, if you guys are new to this channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Why is there 151 people watching? 151. It's weird because 151 people watching, but then when you look at the views later on, it's not 151. So I think maybe this is a glitch in the system. Okay, assalamu alaikum. In the Quran, and why is it read like majareha? Okay, I'll have to answer that separately. Assalamu alaikum. In a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, marry a woman for 4 things: her beauty, lineage, wealth, and deen. But why would the wealth of a woman be considered when her wealth is hers? Okay, so I think this hadith is misunderstood. Okay, salam. Hadith hasn't been translated correctly. Okay, so what it says is a woman is married, brackets, in society usually for 4 reasons. So that's basically what the hadith says. So basically, in society, a woman is married for 4 reasons, meaning not necessarily only Muslims, but other faiths as well. Some people marry a woman because of her beauty. Some people will look for lineage because she belongs to a very noble tribe, status, fame. Some people will marry a woman because she's very wealthy. Some people marry a woman because of her faith. So there's different things that people look at. The Prophet ﷺ said, look, if you're going to look at one of those things, always prioritize religion. So the wealth is not because you want the wealth. The wealth is because it kind of gives you status in society as well. And maybe if she wants to spend on you, she can spend on you. Yeah. So it's not an Islamic concept. You're welcome. You're welcome, Ihsan. Confirm my results. You're welcome. I don't have an aqidah. Is that fine? That's fine. It shows 18. I mean, my one says 151. Weird. 151. Yeah, maybe it's a glitch. Braille Aqaid is Prophet Sallallahu Hazir Nazir. Yeah, I think that's a general statement. That is AH. I think what you need to do is you need to check the works. And when people say Braillevis, what's happened basically is all groups besides those who affiliate to Deoband, who are Tasawwuf inclined, are bunched into being called Braillevis, and that's not really correct. That the grouping of all these groups into Braillevi is not correct. So what I would suggest is, if you do mention anything, try to find those beliefs that were held by Maulana Ahmad Raza Khan, because he was from the village of Bareilly, basically. He's from there, and that's where the title comes from. So Braillevi, that's not really, that doesn't really exist in that sense. Now, what Islam says about ghosts. So if you mean by ghost jinn, then Islam believes in jinn. They're a creation made from fire, smokeless fire. We can't see them. They're able to travel vast distances in a short span of time. They can move through objects. Yeah, maybe it's on Facebook, isn't it? Yeah, maybe it's on other platforms. Okay. Next. Forgive me if that's rather embarrassing, but is our shahada pronounced ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an Allah? So both are fine. Yeah, both are fine. Both are correct. Rayhan, ahlan wa sahla, wa alaikum salam. Inshallah, my brother Rayhan, may Allah make your exams easy. Another last question, Ashraf Ali Thanvi and Ahmad Raza Khan, from your understanding, who is better to read of their books? I would say, look, if a person is capable of reading books, read both of their books. If you're capable of reading the books. Generally, I would say the reading of the books of Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi would be easier to read. Yeah, but Maulana Ahmad Raza Khan, his books are also, he's got some very good books as well. Can something be established as sunnah even if there's no hadith mentioning its virtue, e.g. imama? So the term sunnah can be used for something which is a practice of the deen, something which is a practice in the deen. The imama is not generally called a sunnah in that sense, but it's called a sunnah as in turban, turban imama. So the turban is a sunnah in the sense the Prophet ﷺ, he did wear it. So in that sense, yeah, it's a practice. But then shouldn't we also marry men for their religion? And of course, so maybe there was a hadith for women as well. But remember, the Prophet ﷺ was speaking at his time. He was basically saying to the men, look, you guys generally marry women for these reasons. If you are going to look for these reasons, try to prioritize deen. That's what he was saying. So the thing you have to remember is, whenever the Prophet ﷺ says something, we don't just react and say, oh, but what about women? What about women? There may have been a statement he might have said about women, which he didn't say about men, and vice versa. So sometimes what happens, people think, oh, there should have been like an alternative statement for the women as well. Now, in them days, generally women were, living in a society that was basically the men would come to their house with proposals, or it was a family to look for the spouse. Yeah. Is Asufa Academy Alimiya online? Yes, they have an Alimi online as well. Please, can you explain this verse? فَلَوْلَا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ الْحُلْقُمْ. So, لَوْلَا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ الْحُلْقُمْ, this is in Surah Waqi'ah. So, لَوْلَا إِذَا بَلَغَ, so when the it reaches the throat, hulqum is throat, so it's referring to the soul. وَأَنْتُمْ حِينَئِذٍ تَنْظُرُونَ. Yeah, and at that point you all will be looking. So basically, when a person dies, the soul is going to reach up to the throat. That's how the soul exits the body. Yes, Sheikh, I'm aware of the term Braillevian. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome, brother. Surah Waqi'ah. Salam. Ahlan wa sahlan. What evidences are there for the permissibility of taking photos and videos? I'm quite confused. So basically, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he prohibited people from making pictures. why was this for? So the scholars say the reason behind this was in regards to the people who were doing shirk. Yeah, so it was to stop them from doing shirk. So like a ban was put in place so that they would not be able to make those images. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna go off my Instagram because the battery is finishing. I don't have my charger. My charger won't reach there. So okay, on Instagram. Take care, inshallah, guys. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, so my charger's finishing. Fortunately, the charger wire doesn't reach all that way. So yeah, so as I was saying, the pictures issue. So this is where the scholars differed on the pictures. Some of the scholars said the pictures refer to 3D pictures, like sculptures. So 3D image statues, those were banned, but 2D drawings were not banned. And some of the scholars said no, 2D drawings were banned. So you had this difference of opinion regarding scholars about the images. Why is this? I can't seem to see these on here. The comments are not coming up for some reason. Why is that? It's still showing. Yeah, so that's basically what they said earlier. So now, what if there is no fear of? What if they say there is no fear of there being shirk? So then, so many scholars, later scholars said, then it's fine, no problem. That's why you'll see scholars having their portraits made, things like that, in Egypt and many other countries, because they said the prohibition of making images was due to the comparing someone to Allah, yeah, which was a creation of Allah. So this is the issue. That's why in today's times, when it came to video images, are video images considered to be pictures drawn, or is it just considered to be like taking a freeze frame of life, like a mirror image when you look into the mirror? So that's why the difference of opinion arises. Hope that makes sense. How should someone who wants to further the understanding of balagha but they have only studied the Durus al-Balagha? I would say, can you, if you were given an ayah of the Quran, can you extract from their balagha points? Okay, Imam Ghazali books are very hard to understand and grasp. Which is this scholar very much like him whose books are easy to understand? So if you want easy to understand books like Imam Ghazali, then I would say possibly reading someone like I mean, not all of Imam Ghazali's books are difficult. If you read Bidayat al-Hidayah, very easy to read. Ayyuha al-Walad, very easy to read. And even many sections in Ihya al-Ulumuddin, very easy to read. So I don't see why that's difficult. I can't think of anyone else who's on the same level as Ghazali and his writings are easy. If someone doesn't connect themselves with any Aqidah group, Ash'ari, Maturidi, Athari, is that completely fine? Yes, totally fine. What should they know regarding Aqidah overall? Whatever's in the Quran, they believe it. Whatever the Sahaba believed in, they believe it. That's generally the issue. Only problem occurs is if someone comes up to you and says to you, what's your belief regarding X, Y, and Z? Now, if you obviously just say, look, I don't know, that's fine. But if it's like a core issue, someone says to you, what's your belief in regards to Isa being the son of Allah? Then you have to obviously know that Isa cannot be the son of Allah. That's categorical in the Quran. So at least read the Quran, understand what's in the Quran. E.g., where is Allah? Deobandis will say everywhere and not in a specific. No, astaghfirullah. No, Deobandis don't say that. Salafis say he's everywhere. No, Deobandis don't say he's everywhere. Deobandis say he's outside of space and time. Does this belief really matter? I thought foundationally the Aqidah groups were the same, only in advanced books. Yeah, that's it. But it's unanimously impermissible for 3D sculptures. Yeah, if it's a 3D sculpture, then so technically if it's a 3D sculpture, then no. But then the later scholar said, what if you 100% know this is not going to be something worshipped? Like if it's something which will definitely not be worshipped, like a mannequin in a shop, then the scholars say then it's fine. Can picture, so again, that's another issue, printing the picture. So is it with your hand drawing it, or is printing different than drawing? This is where ikhtilaf comes about. When ikhtilaf is basically if the text, the Quran or the Hadith, has not explicitly elaborated on that particular issue, that's when you're going to have a, like a fork in the road. And scholars, do you have any courses on Aqidah? Yes, on my uruk.com I've got Elements of Faith is called. It goes through the basic 6 pillars of Aqidah. Yeah, so that's basically, let's go back to this then. Curious Cat. What's a reasonable amount to ask for mahar? In my culture, women ask for huge sums of money as it has become the norm, and their arguments is it's not haram. How do you advise them? This is not a good trend they have adopted. There are 30 to 40-year-old women who are never married because of this demand. Yes, it is a very sad thing now, because I know a lot of guys who want to get married to girls, but their demands is too high, so the guys end up looking elsewhere. So like I will tell you this: if there are women out there who demand high mahars, there are guys out there who will actually turn down the marriage because they're not willing to give that much. And if the girl can find someone who can give that much, then it's fine. One way around it would obviously be, if the family is going to be very adamant about it, is that the girl can basically say, okay, yes, high amount, and then tell the guy on the side, look, I'm gonna waiver it. Yeah, I'm gonna discount it anyway later on. You don't have to give me, because it's up to her. She can actually, waiver all of it, or half of it, or how much ever she wants. So what I would say is to encourage your family to understand that marriage and finding a suitor is more important than the amount of mahar. If they are stubborn, then you can always tell the guy that you will waiver the amount. I think you mentioned you've been to Turkey. You may have noticed that some of their museums have wax models depicted a scene which they be again, these kind of things would possibly be permissible. There'd be permissibility in these kind of things because clearly they're not going to be worshipped. I took Bear from Sheikh Mahmoud a few years back, but their practice is too much strict. Like barely, I have left them. Oh, I'm still Muslim. Yes, inshallah, you're still Muslim. And I don't need to be in a tariqah to be a Muslim. Yes, that's correct. What's your view regarding self-help books written by non-Muslims? Can we read them? Yes. I mean, I don't see any, but I read many books as well. There are many books. So here are some books. Here are some good books for you guys to read. Building a Second Brain. You can actually Google this guy. You can listen to his audio. You can listen to his audio stuff. Very good. On YouTube. What's a good name you would name your son and daughter? I have no idea. I've never thought about that. What's a good Hanafi fiqh book to memorize? Quduri, if you can. If one takes an oath to do something and takes this oath multiple times, does he have to give kafara once or multiple times, considering the content of the oath? So if it's the same oath and he said it multiple times, if he says, if I go late to work on Monday, I have to feed 10 people, and he said it 20 times, it's only once. I see. Jazakallah khair. You're welcome, Irfan. Still listening, but looking for availability of time. Purple plants. Is it praiseworthy for someone to have simple walima wedding process in today's day and age? Does this incline closer towards the sunnah? Yeah, simple walima is always the best. Yeah, it's always the best. It's the best thing. And people like it generally. People praise people that have correct, easy, simple weddings. Second, in Aqidah, believe Allah not having a specific place relative to His creation versus Allah having a specific place which is above His throne, which is above the heavens and earth. So the position of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that, like, this is Aqidah Tahawiyah says this, which obviously came very, very early, that there is no direction for Allah. He is not encompassed by any direction, the 6 directions. That's the Aqidah Tahawiyah says that, so we can't really argue with that. That's the correct position. Ta'lim al-Haq is one famous book. Do you want the book? Please name some others. I don't know. Can you explain the hadith? أحب الأسماء إلى الله عبد الله وعبد الرحمن وأصدقها حارث وكما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. So what this hadith means is the most beloved names to Allah is slave of Allah, slave of Rahman. As in, these are the names that basically sort of are testimony to what Tawheed is all about. It does not mean that you have to keep that name, because then all the Sahaba would have named their children Abdullah and Abdul Rahman, which they didn't. Yeah, many of them did, but many of them didn't. They called their children different names. Like Ali radiallahu anhu called his son Hassan, Hussein, which is not Abdullah and Abdul Rahman. And the Prophet, obviously the Prophet's grandchildren. And the Asdaq means, like, in meaning, the most truthful in meaning is Harith. So Harith means like the one who plows the land, hard worker. And there's another version of this hadith that says, and Hammam, yeah, which means someone who is always kind of worried and concerned about life, about things. And that's basically the most true. That's the most truthful name you can have. That's what humans are. Humans are hardworking, and that would be the most descriptive name of a human being. And then he says in that one version, Akdhabul Asma, the most deceitful name, as in the most misleading names, is Khalid, because Khalid means the one that's going to live for a very, very, very long time. And that's not necessarily true. Many Khalids have died in their infancy, and many Khalids have died. All right, guys, I think I'm going to call it a day there. Jazakumullah khair, guys, for watching. May Allah bless all of you guys. And inshallah, I will see you guys. Next week. Next week, make dua for my students. They've got the exams next week, all next week. So they're going to be busy, with the exams, inshallah. And it's a very stressful time as well for them. And it's going to be end of year, inshallah. Then I'm going to be free for the summer holidays, inshallah. And that's it, guys. And next week, also, I'm going to be doing a charity ride, inshallah. A charity ride for poor kids around the world, inshallah, especially in Pakistan. Poor kids, and they help their education and other things as well. So inshallah, if you can support that, I'm going to put the link up in the Telegram and on my social media. If you can share that link with others and support, inshallah, the cause, I'd really like that. So charity ride is going to be from Birmingham. If you want to join, you can join as well, but you've got to register. It's going to be from Birmingham to Gloucester. Birmingham to Gloucester. So all 3 names are good to keep. Yeah, all are good to keep. Isn't not good to keep Khalid as a name? No, it's good. It's fine. It's fine to keep. The Prophet wasn't saying don't keep it. He just said in meaning it's misleading. That's what it is. Like, many people have names which are misleading. No, not to Pakistan. Wa alaikum assalam. Amish, ahlan wa sahlan. Anyway, guys, take care, inshallah. I will see you guys next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.